You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Manet returned to Cambodia last night after attending the ASEAN Summit in Indonesia. Over 4 days, the Prime Minister attended 32 meetings, leaving him a little time to rest, but confirming his legitimacy on the international stage. Speaking at a press conference after the delegation plane touched down in Phnom Penh Airport, Delegate Solnado said that on the journey home, Prime Minister Hun Manet was tired and was wondering how his father must have felt after such an event. Solnado noted that the former Prime Minister Hun Sen was much older and did so much work. He said that the younger generation is realising just how big the job is. He added that the Prime Minister Hun Manet had little time for resting during the ASEAN Summit because he had no time to attend meetings and monitor the situation at home. This morning, the Prime Minister posted a photo taken by his wife during the flight to Jakarta, showing him reviewing documents. He said the travel time is the best time to do necessary work because after the plane landed, it was meeting from morning until night. Prime Minister Hun Manet led a Cambodian delegation to the ASEAN Summit on September 4th and met with the ASEAN leaders in addition to leaders from China and India. Solnado said that the visit to the ASEAN Summit solidified the legacy of the new Prime Minister and demonstrated the international acceptance of his appointment to his father's previous role. He said that this has attracted additional investment to Cambodia and that the economic negotiations were also held this week. Anthony Ellis, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Kim Jin-pyol, President of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, has praised the wisdom of Cambodia's former Prime Minister Hun Sen. He suggested that even though Hun Sen is no longer Prime Minister of Cambodia, he should continue to contribute ideas for promoting peace both regionally and globally. Mr. Kim expressed these sentiments during a meeting with the former Prime Minister Hun Sen, the President of the Cambodian People's Party, on January 7, 2023. The Speaker of the National Assembly expressed gratitude to the CPP President for his long-standing support of the Republic of Korea and for fostering strong bilateral relations. Mr. Kim commended the former Prime Minister Hun Sen as a wise leader and encouraged him to persist in his efforts to promote lasting peace in the region and in the world. CPP President Hun Sen, in the turn, spoke about the historic friendship between the two nations and thanked the Korean side for their assistance during the challenging times, including Cambodia's socio-economic, recovering from the civil war, and ongoing development. Additionally, the CPP President urged the South Korean National Assembly to support the construction of the Cambodian-Korea Friendship Bridge, a symbol of enduring friendship between the two countries. During the meeting, both parties emphasised the value of cooperation and trusted partnership in the ASEAN-Korean and the Mekong-Korean relations. They applauded their joint achievements in ratifying the Cambodian-Korea Free Trade Agreement, even amidst the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. They urged both governments to continue their close collaboration and strive for further achievements that would benefit for citizens of both nations. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Members of CBRE, the leading real estate broker in Cambodia, held meetings to discuss the future of real estate in Cambodia, the challenges the market currently faces, and how to address them. Led by Chairman Mark Townsend, the discussions reflected on CBRE's 15 years on the Cambodian real estate scene and noted the rapid development of properties in the country and how developers need to rethink their strategies in order to survive an oversaturated market. Cambodian developers are facing a crisis of supply and demand, with every city in the world experiencing an oversupply of office space. CBRE Managing Director Lawrence Lennon noted the drastic decline in occupancy rates for the company's office buildings.
Today, we're looking at around 1 million square meters of office space. 2019, we had 90% occupancy on average. Today, it's around 58%.
Chairman Mark Townsend believes this is a case of developers getting caught up in the initial boom of large properties that took place pre-COVID and expecting the same returns without adjusting to the current situation.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is to do with rents, and certainly in relatively mediocre office buildings, the landlords were able to get a very high rent, as they were developers for residential condominiums, where the rent per square, the capital value, the price per square meter was as high as Bangkok. And in many cases, I remember 2019, 2018, higher than Vietnam, where the affordability is greater, the urbanization is stronger, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it did get ahead of itself.
He also noted the need for more modern design.
You go to an office building, an office in Phnom Penh, and it's still, the design and layout is still something from the 70s and 80s. It's not, if you go to somewhere in Singapore or Hong Kong, it's very collaborative. And I think people will start to realize that if you want to get young people to come and work hard for you every day, you're going to have to design the space a very differently, with breakout space, with more space per worker, per employee, a bigger canteen area.
Townsend notes that COVID, the return to work, the credit crunch, and the war in Ukraine have all compounded to create a real estate market that has changed direction and is in desperate need of an overhaul in terms of how building managers build, use, and design their properties. Lawrence Lennon warned that anyone still operating on a 2019 playbook is likely to be left behind because the cycle has been altered. The company promotes a circular strategy of refill, repurpose, re-energize, reposition, and reuse for existing buildings to discourage the unwise and harmful practice of constantly knocking down buildings to build anew.
Don't tear something down until you're absolutely sure. Don't build anything until you realize, particularly in the retail sector, retail trends are changing all the time. The design, what the purpose for which they're used for, the types of tenants gets bigger, gets smaller. And we've seen this so much in the West.
CBRE praised the factory in Phnom Penh as an excellent example of repurpose after developers turned a derelict Levi factory into a mixed-use creative hub used by the community, new businesses, and emerging artists. When developers do choose to build anew, Townsend stressed the need for them to think about long-term use of their building. With consumer trends and business models shifting all the time, developers should be thinking ahead to how their building could be used beyond its immediate purpose.
There is a huge responsibility now with the ESG, with global warming, to make sure when you build something, you've got to build it for a purpose that could change.
The company notes affordability, demographics, urbanization, infrastructure, and lack of transparency as main drivers for real estate. Townsend also spoke on the obstacles standing in the way for major investors in Cambodia, especially when it comes to the lack of regulation and transparency. His company's inability to provide vital information such as zoning or height restrictions on properties, which vary widely and often without logic, has created a real challenge for large institutional investors. Having worked in Vietnam for 20 years, Townsend witnessed the shift that happened for the country when Samsung became a major investor. He noted that Vietnam went from primarily producing shoes and garments to becoming a tech hub. He said that it created a dramatic shift in the Vietnamese people, who started to see more potential in what kind of work they could do in the tech field. Townsend hopes for the same shift for Cambodians and noted that while Cambodia does have some catching up to do, it is already ahead in terms of infrastructure development, which signals to investors that the country is serious about its economic development. However, it does remain unclear which road the kingdom will take in the near future to further its economic vision of becoming a high-income country by 2050. Kristen Winters, EAC News.
Another important area.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The three ruling parties of the Southeast Asian Peninsula met in Vietnam on Wednesday to strengthen their solidarity and reaffirm their commitments to their common goals. Press release from the Cambodian People's Party said that the CPP, the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, and the Communist Party of Vietnam are committed to maintaining unity in order to maintain the common interests of the nation and the people. The leaders of the parties, Hun Sen of Cambodia, Thongloun Sisolit of Laos, and Nguyen Phu Trong of Vietnam, met in Hanoi the day after the three countries' premiers met for breakfast at the ASEAN Summit in Jakarta. In a press release issued yesterday, the Cambodian People's Party said that the event was significant in strengthening and expanding the relationship between the parties and the peoples of Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam as the global context changes. During the meeting, the leaders of the three parties mentioned the history and solidarity between their countries and pledged to maintain unity. The CPP said that the three pillars of cooperation are in strengthening defense and security, strengthening cooperation in foreign affairs, and promoting cooperation between parties, states, and institutions of the three countries based on the potential and strength of each of them. Kristen Winters, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Twice a year, a magical scene appears at Angkor Wat at the sunrises directly over the temple for the vernal equinox on March and the autumnal equinox in September. According to the head of the Department of Preservation of Temples in Angkor Park, Im Sokriti, tourists should be able to catch the spectacular phenomenon this month on September 22nd. Equinox occurs on the day when daytime and nighttime are nearly equal in length. This time of year, the days are usually longer than the nights, but the equinox makes a shift. At Angkor Wat, the sun rises directly over the peak of the main temple, and it rises and presents a unique photo op from the central gate. This year's vernal equinox on March 21st attracted nearly 8,000 visitors, over 2,000 of which were foreign tourists. Angkor Wat's alignment to the equinox shows the skills, knowledge, and creativity of the ancient Khmer Empire, while also acknowledging a shared fascination with astronomy that demonstrates across many ancient cultures. Modern-day social media users continue the tradition of the marvelling of the man's connection of the cosmos. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Having been Cambodia's Prime Minister for just over 2 weeks, Prime Minister Hun Manet has hit the ground running to establish his reputation on the international stage. While at the ASEAN Summit in Indonesia this week, he has confirmed his upcoming trip to China next week, in addition to attending the UN General Assembly next month. Yesterday, he confirmed his attendance at the upcoming Belt and Road Initiative Summit in Beijing from September 13th to 14th, in addition to the China ASEAN Expo in Nanning from September 16th through 19th. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the details.
China's Belt and Road Initiative, sometimes referred as the New Silk Road, is one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects ever conceived. Launched in 2013 by President Xi Jinping, the project was originally devised to link East Asia and Europe through physical infrastructure. In the decades since, the project has expanded to Africa, Oceania, Latin America, significantly broadening China's economic and political influence. Next week's Belt and Road Summit is a premier international platform for promoting businesses' collaboration along with the project's path. The summit gathers senior government officials and business leaders from countries and regions along and beyond the Belt and Road to exchange insights of multilateral collaboration and explore concrete business opportunities. At the 26th ASEAN-China meeting in Jakarta yesterday, the Prime Minister recognised the common interest for the good relations between China and ASEAN for over nearly 3 decades. He said that the BRI has provided many benefits to Cambodia, especially in the transport and logistics sectors, noting the Phnom Penh-Sihanoukville Expressway as an example of the tentative success. Prime Minister Hun Manet will then attend the China ASEAN Expo in Nanning, where the multinational business, politicians and diplomats mingle for further cooperation in trade, economy and other fields, as well as people-to-people exchanges. The Trade Expo focuses on increasing imports and exports between China and ASEAN, international investments, exhibitions and conferences and cultural exchanges. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. First Lady Pic Chan Moni accompanied her husband to this year's ASEAN Summit for their debut on the international stage. Yesterday, she attended the annual event held for spouses of the senior leaders of ASEAN countries and ASEAN partners. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
The First Lady attended a program with the wives of 11 senior Asian leaders, including Singaporean First Lady Ho Ching and Indonesian First Lady Iriana Joko Widodo, who extended a warm welcome to First Lady Pik Chamani and her counterparts are responding to Indonesia's invitation and donating their time. Held at the Taman Mini Indonesian Idaha Park in Jakarta, the event featured performances and demonstrations of multicultural arts, as well as the exhibition of local products of Indonesia. The theme park itself showcases the variety of cultures in Indonesia, with 26 provinces represented throughout the displays of architecture, clothing, dances, and traditional indigenous to each other region. The First Ladies were also treated to a parachute demonstration from the Indonesian Armed Forces. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. South Korea and Cambodia have officially entered a comprehensive strategic partnership under Cambodia's new administration. This morning, President of the National Assembly of Cambodia, Kwan Sodari, requested that her South Korean counterpart, Kim Jin-pyo, promote strong and comprehensive relations between the two countries in both the legislative and executive branches. South Korea's President of the National Assembly, Kim Jin-pyo, arrived with his delegation to Phnom Penh yesterday, starting a 4-day official visit to meet with Cambodia's high-level officials, including the presidents of both the National Assembly and the Senate, in addition to the former and current prime ministers. He began this morning by laying a memorial wreath at the statue of the late King Norodom Sihanouk. He then attended a meeting at the National Assembly building, where National Assembly President Kwan Sodari asked him to continue to support the agreements and memoranda of understanding that the two governments of the two countries made under the previous administration regarding importing products from Cambodia, developing the agro-industrial sector, and supporting Cambodian workers in South Korea. She also asked for closer cooperation between the two national assemblies in training governmental human resources, especially in the fields of information technology and research. Kim Jin-pyo agreed to the request and promised to increase the quota for agricultural technical workers and training officials. Korea's National Assembly president will next pay a courtesy call to the leader of Cambodia's other legislative body, the Senate. Currently, the Senate's president is Sai Chuam. However, former Prime Minister Hun Sen has announced he intends to take over the position following February's Senate elections. Kim Jin-pyo will be meeting with him during his visit as well. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. A sandstone bas-relief sculpture from the 12th or 13th century was returned to Cambodia after French customs authorities confiscated it from an auction house over 3 years ago. The handover ceremony took place on Monday in Lyon, where Cambodian ambassador to France, Ket Sopan, accepted the repatriated sculpture from French customs and national security authorities. The 5-piece sandstone sculpture depicting an apsara, or nymph, was created in the 12th or 13th century and weighs about 300 kilograms. Experts claim the sculpture possibly came from Preah Khan Temple in Kampong Svai or Banteya Chmar Temple. The sculpture was stolen in the early 1990s and was seized as part of an operation to inspect an antique auction house in Lyon in February 2020. Ambassador Ket Sopan thanked the French authorities on behalf of the royal government and the people of Cambodia, saying that the ceremony reflected the excellent cooperation between Cambodia and France. He emphasized that the sculpture represents a part of history and a fragment of the soul of the Khmer Empire, and that its return would allow for the reunification of the national soul and the Khmer identity. On September 5th, the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts issued a proclamation banning art sellers on social media from using photographs of Cambodian artifacts to promote their business. The ministry said it will be taking legal action against those who break the new law. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. The first Deputy Secretary General of the Cambodian Red Cross, Mein Niri Sopiek, held a press conference this morning to announce the 20th Southeast Asia Red Cross Red Crescent Leaders Meeting and the Second Youth Forum that Cambodia will host from September 17th through 22nd. The meetings are next in line of international conferences that Cambodia has proudly hosted over the last year, following the ASEAN Summit in November 2022 and the SEA Games in May. At this morning's press conference at the Cambodian Red Cross office in Tulkok, Mein Niri Sopiak informed the media of the two events, which include tree planting at the Cambodian Buddhist Cultural Center in Kirirom National Park, led by former First Lady Bun Rani, and a total of about 500 people, including a delegation of Southeast Asian Red Cross youth. Meanwhile, the 20th Red Cross Leaders Meeting will take place at the Soka Hotel in Phnom Penh. She urged all media outlets to participate in covering these events to show the character of Cambodia, as well as highlight the nation's efforts in global humanitarian action. The annual meeting brings together Red Cross and Red Crescent leaders from Southeast Asia and other international Red Cross leaders to discuss and decide on issues of interest to the organization in the region. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement is a global humanitarian network of 80 million people that helps those facing disaster, conflict, and health and social problems. It consists of the International Committee of the Red Cross, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and the 192 National Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Kristen Winters, EAC News. You're watching EAC News. Thank you for joining us. Plastic pollution is a pressing global issue, and Cambodia is no exception. In a significant move towards environmental sustainability, Minister of Environment Eng Sopalet instructed his ministry to launch a campaign aimed at reducing plastic usage in schools across Cambodia. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
During a meeting with the management, government officials and park rangers of the Koh Kong Department of Environment Sunday, Minister Eng Sopalet urged the department to spearhead this incentive, particularly targeting teachers and students. The campaign, titled "Today I Won't Use Plastic," is set to begin in schools across all districts and cities. He stressed the importance of students and teachers committing to reducing plastic usage, even with just 1 or 2 days a week. He highlighted this collective effort could lead to significant reduction in plastic weight, ultimately contributing to environmental hygiene and sustainable future for Cambodia. The campaign to reduce plastic bag is crucial towards achieving the government's threefold strategy, emphasizing growth, jobs, equality, efficiency, and stability, ultimately positioning Cambodia as a high middle income country by 2030 and working towards the ambitious Cambodian vision. Studies conducted by the Ministry of Environment revealed that on average individuals in Phnom Penh and major cities use a sustainable number of plastic bags. Even in smaller towns and rural areas, the average remains high. Phnom Penh alone generates approximately 3,500 tonnes of waste daily, with 20% consisting of plastic waste. The Plastic Reduction Campaign, launched on September 1st, began in 5 schools in Tabong Khmom province, involved a total of 15,000 students. The primary objective is to foster environmental conscience and protect Cambodia's natural beauty from the benefit of all its citizens. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
ឈានចូលដល់ថ្ងៃទី 2 នៃការបំពេញបេសកកម្មផ្លូវរដ្ឋនៅទីក្រុង Jakarta សាធារណរដ្ឋឥណ្ឌូនេស៊ីនាថ្ងៃទី 5 ខែកញ្ញាឆ្នាំ 2023 វេលាម៉ោង 7:00 នាទីព្រឹកសម្ដេចមហាបវរធិបតីហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃព្រះរាជាណាចក្រកម្ពុជាបានជួបទទួលទានអាហារពេលព្រឹកនិងពិភាក្សាការងារត្រីភាគីជាមួយឯកឧត្តមផាមមិញជិញនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃសាធារណរដ្ឋសង្គមនិយមវៀតណាមនិងឯកឧត្តមសុនសៃស៊ីផាន់ដននាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃសាធារណរដ្ឋប្រជាធិបតេយ្យប្រជាមានិតឡាវនៅក្នុងជំនុំនេះថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំនៃប្រទេសទាំង3បានពិភាក្សានិងបានឯកភាពជាគោលការណ៍លើការបន្តរក្សាប្រពៃណីនៃការជួបទទួលទានអាហារពេលព្រឹកនិងពិភាក្សាការងារត្រីភាគីនៅមុនពេលបើកកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលធំៗក្នុងតំបន់ដែលតែងផ្ដល់ផលប្រយោជន៍ជាច្រើនដល់ប្រទេសទាំង3បន្តដោះស្រាយជាមួយគ្នានិងជំរុញសម្រេចឲ្យបាននៅលទ្ធផលចំពោះបញ្ហាដែលនៅសេសសល់ទាំងឡាយបន្តអនុវត្តយន្តការនៃការកំណត់ព្រំដែនរវាងប្រទេសទាំង3ដើម្បីបញ្ចប់ទាំងស្រុងនាពេលឆាប់ៗខាងមុខបន្តកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការរវាងប្រទេសទាំង3ទាំងក្នុងទិដ្ឋភាពសង្គមសេដ្ឋកិច្ចសន្តិសុខការផ្សារភ្ជាប់រវាងប្រជាជននិងប្រជាជនវប្បធម៌និងប្រពៃណីនិងបន្តជំរុញបន្ថែមនៅទំនាក់ទំនងនិងការផ្សារភ្ជាប់រវាងប្រទេសទាំង3លើគ្រប់មធ្យោបាយរួមទាំងហេដ្ឋារចនាសម្ព័ន្ធដូចជាស្ពានផ្លូវដែកនិងកំពង់ផែខ្សែចង្វាក់ផ្គត់ផ្គង់និងទេសចរណ៍បន្ទាប់មកនៅវេលាម៉ោង 10 ព្រឹកសម្ដេចមហាបវរធិបតីហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃព្រះរាជាណាចក្រកម្ពុជានិងលោកជំទាវបណ្ឌិតពេជ្រច័ន្ទមុនីព្រមទាំងគណៈប្រតិភូ បានអញ្ជើញចូលរួមពិធីបើកកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលអាស៊ានលើកទី43និងកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលពាក់ព័ន្ធឯឧត្តមជូកូវីដូដូប្រធានាធិបតីនៃសាធារណរដ្ឋឥណ្ឌូនេស៊ីបានថ្លែងសន្ទរកថាដោយបានរំលេចពីវឌ្ឍនភាពរបស់អាស៊ានបន្ទាប់ពីកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលអាស៊ានកាលពីខែឧសភាឆ្នាំ2023កន្លងទៅបន្ទាប់ពីបញ្ចប់ពិធីបើកកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលអាស៊ាននៅវេលាម៉ោង 10:30 នាទីព្រឹកសម្ដេចមហាបវរធិបតីហ៊ុនម៉ាណែតបានដឹកនាំគណៈប្រតិភូរាជរដ្ឋ